So I want to welcome with us our guest for this segment, Don Doyle, who is the president of Webster 5. Don, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Tim.
So Don, in the interest of full disclosure, you are also a member of the chamber board, one of my bosses, and but we'll get that disclosure out of the way. You're our leadoff hitter here, and we've used the baseball metaphors, given all that's happening in the baseball world, the Red Sox, the Paw Sox. But you've been in that role for a couple of years now as president of Webster 5.
I have. I've been in the role for 2 years. I've been at the bank for 14 years. Prior to that, I was the senior lending officer at the bank. And when the previous president, Rich Leahy, retired, I took over for him. So it's been exciting. Rich did a wonderful job in growing the bank, and I want to carry forward his legacy and kind of put my own stamp on the institution as well. So it's been a fun couple of years, and look forward to the future as well.
So 14 years you've been part of that growth, and Webster 5, for our viewers, it's actually a pretty good sized bank.
It is. We're about $830 million bank from an asset size perspective. When I first joined the bank 14 years ago, we were about a $450 million bank, and we've shown some significant growth. A big part of that is in the city of Worcester. If you look at the history of the bank, we started in 1868. Again, we're celebrating our 150th anniversary this year. And at the time, the local business people in Webster, they wanted to give the opportunity for their employees to have an opportunity to have banking services. With the local, the local businesses wanted to provide those services to their employee base.
And Webster, a pretty big manufacturing town back in the day.
It was. It was very much a big manufacturing area, and there was just a lack of good banking services for their employees. So what they did is they got together. They started Webster 5. The thought process was they can put the employees can save their nickels. Yeah. And as thus it was Webster 5 Cent Savings Bank.
Okay.
And we stayed a small little community bank for several years. Eventually they opened a branch in Oxford and another one in Dudley. And then in the mid-90s, the board of the bank, as well as the president of the bank at that time, Rick Lawton, decided that in order to grow and continue to thrive, they had to do two things. One was to expand geographically, and thus they opened branches in Worcester, Auburn, and Shrewsbury. And then secondarily, they needed to expand the product line, because again, it was just primarily a small community bank, primarily focused with the retail customers and individuals. So they want to expand on providing products and services for businesses. And we've done a really wonderful job doing that, to the point now, if you look at the balance sheet of the bank, the majority of the loans are now to businesses versus individuals. We're a full service bank now, whereas again, 25 years ago, we were primarily a retail-focused bank. So it's been an exciting time to be at the bank.
So Webster, the expansion into the Blackstone Valley and now Worcester, and probably maybe it's 4 or 5 years now, a pretty modern new branch in Worcester over on Chandler Street, right, and Park Ave.
Yeah, yes. Originally, we leased space on Park Ave. Made a decision that we wanted to own our own properties. And that's kind of an interesting story in its own right, because the property that we moved into on Chandler Street was actually a brownfield property. So we purchased the property, we cleaned the property up, built a beautiful new branch, and then we actually owned some excess property, and which we have sold to a local restaurant. So it was good from
and we can say what that restaurant is, because they're a chamber member, Antonio's Pizza, which is, that place is packed all the time, and with your building, you've really activated that whole corner, in terms of with Antonio's and the bank in a positive way.
Very much so, because that property, like I said, was a brownfield property. It had been inactive for many, many years. So we felt very excited to have the opportunity, not only to move our branch and have a brand new branch, but also to have an impact from an economic development standpoint.
And good jobs at the Antonio's. We know some of the people that work there, and my daughters are particularly enjoy it after soccer games. As do you see the place packed with the athletes and families from a lot of different leagues and stuff. So now with college back.
Yeah, a lot of events across the street at Foley Stadium, and it attracts a nice crowd over there. So,
good stuff. And so you share with us a little bit of the history and some of the specifics on the bank. I want to get into the 150th, but one question I always ask is, so roughly, as the bank has grown, how many employees across the footprint?
We have 150 employees. we're spread out pretty much all over Worcester and into the southern Worcester County. Right. About 40 of our employees are in Worcester with the 2 branches, and our business banking group and HR department are at 100 Front Street. We actually probably have one of the largest business banking groups in the city. We have 10 lenders. Our senior lender is Chris Watson, who has over 30 years banking experience. And again, I think we do a really wonderful job from the perspective of...
And like Chandler Street with 100 Front Street, you've got a branch on the first floor that's kind of very modern and kind of been a bit of a catalytic space in terms of the whole activity with the whole City Square project.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Matter of fact, when we made the decision to go in that space, pretty much the lobby space had been abandoned. It was an old Mechanics Bank branch. Bank of America took that over when they took over Mechanics Bank, we made the decision that we want to make a commitment to the city, and we did open up that space, that branch. It's been a huge success, and I think it was a bit of a catalyst, I think, for further development in the lobby of 100 Front Street, because we all know since that time it's been completely redeveloped. And that whole area of the city, I think, is really taking off with all the construction going on.
Yeah, so. No, it's AC Marriott, the 145 Front Street, the 110 Grill. It's
right.
And clearly the work that Chip Norton has done with Mercantile Center, the plaza, and everything.
Right.
So 150 years. That's a pretty significant anniversary. I mean, you're older than the chamber. And I
yes,
think
we
we're
are.
At 147.
Right,
this year will be our annual meeting. And so usually that's a milestone, an important celebration. And why don't you tell us what you have planned?
Well, we've our actual anniversary date was March, so we started actually back in the spring in April. We had a wonderful event down in Webster on the Town Hall Green. That's where it all began. You know, where our original branch was probably less than 200 yards from where we had the celebration. It was an all-day event and attracted a lot of our folks from the Webster, Dudley, Oxford area. And then what we've been doing on a monthly basis in the branches is having celebrations, customer appreciation celebrations. We do that on the 15th of every month. And we'll continue to do that for the balance of the year. Back in June, the Chamber recognized us at the Breakfast Club, so that was pretty exciting. And our biggest event is going to be next week. We are having our 150th celebration in Worcester. And as part of that, we are going to be recognizing what we call the difference makers in the community. So through social media and individuals coming into our branches, they voted for a not-for-profit and a local business that are making a difference in the community for those that are in need in the community. And we'll be making a donation in directly to the not-for-profit. And for the businesses making a difference in the community, we will be making a donation for the charity of their choice. And the third thing that we're going to be recognizing is, we're a community bank. Our employees are very much involved in the community, being on local boards, or we have direct involvement with, again, those in need. So we actually had a vote internally to recognize an employee that's going to be making a difference in the community. So we're going to be announcing those 3 winners next week. We're going to have some cultural performances as part of that celebration as well. So we're very excited about the event.
And that's next week, and it's going to be September 13th.
September 13th at the Mercantile Center.
Plaza.
Right.
So as part of the redevelopment of City Square piece, the Mercantile Center, Chip Norton, the 100 Front Street, the plaza, the inside of the building, great place for an event.
Yes, yeah, we're very excited about that. I think, obviously we're celebrating 150th anniversary, but we also want to celebrate all the exciting things going on in downtown Worcester.
Right. With a big footprint, a company that's doubled in assets, expanded into the business, banking space, and a fair number of employees. One of the issues that we've really focused on with the board of the chamber boards, imprimatur and support and encouragement is the whole area of can we as a chamber on behalf of our members expand the talent pool. The single biggest issue we hear from our members, regardless of the size of the company, the sector, is access to talent. Yes, well-educated and trained workforce, a motivated workforce. How do we plug our colleges in? And that's really not different than some in the banking. I mean, you need talent, right?
Absolutely. And and it's unfortunate, but a good part of our employee base, and not just for Webster 5, but as an industry as a whole, tends to be a little older. So it's very important that we attract new talent to the banking industry, so we can continue to thrive as one of the leading community banks in the market. The interesting thing is banking has changed significantly over the last 20 years, especially the last 5 years. You think about from the perspective of the delivery channels. I'm primarily talking about mobile banking,
right,
I'm talking
right.
about online banking. Some of our best customers we never see because they're doing banking, on those channels. So it's becoming a very innovative industry. So I think it'll be an exciting opportunity for a younger person to come into banking, whereas
right.
maybe 20 years ago, they may have saw it as being maybe a little bit more on the stuffy side.
Right, right.
Where I think now with all the innovation going on in the industry, I think it'd be an exciting opportunity for people to come into the industry.
And some of that change is reflective just even both your branches, kind of much more kind of casual. You walk into the Chandler and Park Ave branch or even the downtown branch, you almost feel like you're in a coffee shop than a branch,
yeah,
right?
That's exactly right. Going to my point that some of our best customers typically don't come into the branch because they're doing everything online or on their cell phone. Those customers, when they do come into the branch, they're really looking for advice,
right.
or they have questions with regards to the technology. So those particular branches are set up with a pod. You don't have the old style teller's line, and we have what's called a tech bar. So if a customer comes in and has a specific question on how to use the technology, we actually have an iPad where we can actually show them how to use the technology. We also have to be sensitive, though, because still 2/3 of our deposit base are baby boomers who are typically coming in to cash a check and
right.
more of a transactional type of relationship. So we really need to cater to both.
Right,
So we're kind of in that transition. I think if we look out 15 years from now, I think it's going to be primarily a lot of personal banking will be done online. But we still got to remember that a good part of our customer base is still looking for that old style type of banking relationship.
Human touch, right?
Absolutely.
Good. Well, Don, thanks. It went quick. There's a lot happening, but thank you for giving us a great overview of Webster 5, and congratulations on 150 years.
Thank you, Tim.
Good
Thanks for
stuff.
having me.
Good.